You're watching Wisconsin Eye, an independent, nonprofit public affairs network, engaging the citizens of Wisconsin since 2007 through access to government proceedings and public policy events. To support programs like this, please consider a tax-deductible donation at wisi.org/donate or by texting WISI to 44321.
Well, thank you for being here today. I am State Representative Robin Vining. I represent the people of the 14th Assembly District, and I am honored that you have joined us today for this exciting announcement. And I'm especially honored to tell you that the reason that we are here today is because a mother fought to make the world more accessible for her child. When I was first elected, I sat down at a small table in a tiny coffee shop in Wauwatosa and looked out the window as a mother carefully positioned her son in a wheelchair and then proceeded to maneuver the chair away from the minivan, through the snowy sidewalk, up a bumpy pathway, and into the coffee shop. I was about to meet Sarah and Matthew. Sarah sat down, gave Matthew a snack, and prepared to pitch me her vision for a Wisconsin that was more accessible for her son. I was a brand new legislator, about a month on the job, and Sarah and Matthew wasted no time in making an appointment to speak with me. She shared her concerns about the lack of adult-sized changing stations in public places for people with disabilities. She shared that her son Matthew had been unable to go to basketball games, museums, and airports because then, at age 19, he had to be changed on the floor of public restrooms or in the back of a van. I looked back to the snow falling outside and realized how cold it was. That was no weather to be changing in the back of a van. She explained that when buildings aren't accessible, people can't visit them. This affects the person living with disabilities and their family members. It affects parents, it affects siblings. And she asked me to write legislation to help. After she left that day, I was determined to figure out what we could do. Access to changing stations is an issue of public health and human dignity. We have a population of people in need who are going unseen because they are unable to participate in society. As Sarah taught me that cold February day, since the buildings don't work for the people aren't going to the buildings. If we want people to live, work, visit, and stay in Wisconsin, we have to make sure that our state is accessible to everyone. Everyone deserves access to public spaces, and bathroom use should not prevent somebody from enjoying and participating in our communities and our society. I am working along with my colleagues to make Wisconsin a more accessible state. The Wisconsin State Capitol is the People's House. The People's House must be accessible for all people. The lack of a universal changing station in the state capitol has meant students were unable to join their class to visit, families were unable to visit, and the People's House has not been accessible to everybody. But this has changed, and this is a change worth celebrating. Senator Agard and I are celebrating today because the People's House is now accessible to more people. This is how we move forward together. I want to thank Brookfield mother Sarah Knowles for her tenacious advocacy, Senator Melissa Agard for her partnership in the state Senate, DOA for their hard work designing the changes, and the SCURB board for their unanimous support. And now I want to turn the microphone over to the tenacious mother who brought us all here today. I wasn't the first elected official she pitched her hopes and dreams for a more accessible world to, and when she met resistance, she kept going. And from that persistence, she has seen success. Sarah is who I credit today. We now have a bill that has achieved bipartisan support. Governor Evers has included this bill in his proposed budget. The Brookfield Library now has a universal changing station because of her advocacy. And now, right here in the Wisconsin State Capitol, the people of Wisconsin have a universal changing station thanks to Sarah's tenacity, grit, and grace. Sarah Knowles, thank you for your work.
Thank you, Representative Vining. My name is Sarah Knowles, and this is my son Matthew. In 2016, we started Changing Spaces Wisconsin, part of a national advocacy group called the Changing Spaces Campaign. Our goal is to raise awareness of the need for powered, height-adjustable, adult-sized changing tables in public family restrooms. I don't know if some of you here today had a long commute. Did you rush here from a meeting? Perhaps you made time to go to the restroom. Perhaps there was no time, and you're now regretting that last cup of coffee. Are you now wondering where the nearest restroom is? But what would you do if there was nowhere to go? There are many people who are born with a disability that causes lifelong incontinence, and many medical diagnoses that can occur throughout life that also lead to incontinence. What about the growing elderly population? What about our veterans? The disabled population is the only minority group that anyone can become part of at any time. We are all an illness or accident away from that possibility. In January of 2019, I reached out to Representative Vining at her first constituent meeting. I explained about the need for somewhere to change members of the disabled population who no longer fit on a standard baby changing unit. Options to leave the house become very limited. It's a race against time to reach your destination, participate in the next activity, and return home before you need another change. Sometimes it's not possible to make it home in time. What happens then? What would you do if Matthew was your son? Choose between laying him on a bathroom floor with countless germs, or using Matthew doesn't like that idea, or using the back of your vehicle, open to the elements and in sight of passing strangers. People who need access to a safe, private, hygienic place to change should not be forced to compromise their dignity in this way. Sometimes the solution is to just stay home. This leads to social isolation. I would like to thank Representative Vining and Senator Agard for the support they have given to this issue and the work that Darren Smith has done to facilitate the table installation here at the Capitol. I pretty much have emailed him every month for 3 years, but anyway, there should be no physical barrier to participation in the democratic process. It benefits everyone when populations are accommodated, included, and welcomed, not just here in the Capitol, but throughout our communities. These tables are life-changing for those that need them. Thank you.
Our next speaker is somebody I'm honored to work with, both because of her empathy and her work ethic. And it is special that we are here today on her birthday, where we can acknowledge that our appreciation for how she uses her life and her life's work, caring so much for so many people, working so hard for so many of us. Senator Agard, take it away.
Thank you, Robin, and Sarah, and your family, and all of the other amazing people across the state of Wisconsin that have brought us here today to celebrate this hard work. Ensuring that every single public building in our community is accessible to the public should be a top priority for every policymaker. Robin has been a champion in the state legislature for these changes, and it's been an honor to work with her and for her, actually. Yeah. Because of Robin's work, we've actually seen growth in communities across the state of Wisconsin. Right here in Dane County, our new airport expansion will have universal changing stations, and there will be universal changing stations in other county facilities as well. So there's a real call to action. Just because we are here today celebrating this success, there is work that needs to happen still. As Robin mentioned, the Universal Changing Station was approved by the State Capitol and Executive Residence Board. We here call it SCRB because we like alphabet soup and the work that we do. And the SCRB committee worked with Governor Evers and Representative Vining and Sarah and many other people throughout the state in order to make this happen. And I had the opportunity of serving on the committee and casting my vote in a unanimous vote, in fact, which is unique in this building, but I think that is something that we need to celebrate and be able to build forward. A unanimous vote to install a universal changing station right here in the State Capitol building. And I'm here to provide my commitment to all of you that I am going to continue working for improved accessibility across the state of Wisconsin when it comes to universal changing stations and other things that I know that we need to be doing to ensure that folks can enter all of our public buildings. Caregivers and teachers have, in fact, previously used the floor of my office to provide for the needs of their students and adults in their care. And while the installation of this changing station is just one small step that we are making to increase the accessibility in Wisconsin, in our state capital, in the People's House, that's what Robin and I like to call it, we know that there is more work to do. And we also know that this is making a big difference in the lives of so many people. In speaking with Sarah, knowing that this changing table is here in the Capitol building opens up a big portion of the city also for her to be able to take Matthew out into restaurants and businesses. This is what we like to be able to see. So I am hopeful. I am very hopeful today that with the installation of the universal changing station in the state capitol, that we are signifying the beginning of a people-centered building and a people-centered government, a place in Wisconsin that will become a national leader here in our state for inclusive and accessible public spaces for everyone. We have the opportunity to work further by supporting the governor's budget investment in universal changing station credits. That budget hearings are going to be 4 budget hearings across the state of Wisconsin, and it allows us to advocate for this provision so that we can be doing more in our public buildings to increase accessibility everywhere in the state of Wisconsin. And we're excited to have folks that can talk directly from the front lines about how this is going to change the lives of people who they support and themselves. I am pleased to be able to introduce Courtney Rogaszewski, the Managing Director of the Ability Center.
Thank you so much, Senator Agar and Representative Vining, for the incredible work that you've done, and Sarah and Matthew for the champions you've been across Wisconsin. The Ability Center truly believes in universal inclusion across all spaces, and the fact that we are opening Wisconsin up to the opportunities that able-bodied people have and their peers and their families is really close to our heart. As you've already heard, individuals with disabilities don't always have the same opportunities to stay at their favorite venue, their favorite location, their favorite restaurant, if in fact they need, to satiate their very basic human needs, and they can't because they're not provided the same universal opportunity or access that an able-bodied person or their peers or families are able to be provided. So the fact that this incredible work has been done by Sarah and Matthew and the family to be able to champion these efforts across Wisconsin, and it's been backed by our representatives and our senators and the governor, really is a huge step forward to be able to provide opportunity across all of Wisconsin to be able to give people with disabilities that same opportunity and same access that everybody else has. We always want to make sure that people with disabilities have the same dignity as everybody else, and they don't want to ever be the ones that are on the sidelines telling their families and their peers and their friends that we can't go there because, my brother has a disability or my nephew has a disability. Everybody wants to be able to recreate and be engaged in their local government, go to their favorite restaurant, and it's tremendously important to provide something as simple as a universal changing station that to everybody to make sure that they can do that. So it is with incredible gratitude that Sarah and her family have done the work to be able to push that forward, and that we begin to open Wisconsin to everybody, starting right here in our house. That the entire community and the entire state has that opportunity. So we're so thankful for those opportunities, and we will continue to be on your bench to support that across Wisconsin. So thank you so much for having us and for everybody and all the work that they've done. So I would like to introduce Gerald Hay. He is the Director of Independent Living Services at Independence First.
Morning, everyone, and I just want to echo the sentiments. Thank you for everybody and all your hard work for pushing this through and making it happen. But I hope I'm not alone in this room by thinking that this shouldn't be hard work. This should be things that we are able to do on a daily basis, that things that we don't have to think about, some of these planning aspects and that. So I'm really encouraged that this is one very important step forward. But one of the things that we focus on at Independence First is seeing the person first. The people around us just aren't people with disabilities. They are our mothers and fathers, our sons and daughters, our sisters and brothers, our husbands and wives, our constituents and donors. We spend a lot of time focusing on access barriers, things like stairs, passive travel, accessible parking, and rightly so. These are very important. But sometimes we forget about some of the other ways that experiences or venues might not be accessible, and more importantly, what this inaccessibility means. And some of the speakers here have already kind of touched on it, but something as accessible as an accessible bathroom or a changing station or a pair of noise-canceling headphones can be the difference between participating and not, experiencing and not, belonging or not. These things are vital. The accommodations that we are here to view and talk about today aren't just for people with disabilities. They are for everyone, because good design works for everyone, and we should applaud all of the folks gathered here and their partners for all of their efforts in helping make the Capitol, the People's House, and our communities more accessible and inclusive. And again, I just want to thank you all for this, and thank you for having us.
We're happy to take questions, if you have any. And if not, we are going to be able to go see it in person. All right, let's all move forward in this world together. Thank you.
This program is a production of Wisconsin Eye, an independent, nonpartisan, nonprofit media network with a mission to inform, educate, and engage the citizens of Wisconsin. Wisconsin Eye is the nation's first and only independently funded state civic broadcast network, providing gavel-to-gavel access to government proceedings and events at the state capitol.